Okay, when I stepped into this role nearly 2 years ago, I knew that my first charge was to rebuild the team in the future, right? And so if anyone was led a system, you sort of know you got to do that internal work and create the conditions that help you set your own vision and do what you want to do. So I would say that was the work for the first year and a half, but that certainly is not the work that I love, right? Because I'm a visionary and I want to think deeply about kids and I want to think deeply about communities, and then I want to pull together the resources that I have to make that happen. And so the reason that tonight has been such a long time coming is because this is kind of our coming out party of sorts. And so even though I'm not necessarily a brand new executive director and I've been in the role for almost 2 years, this is really, really the launch of our new agenda. And so we're so excited to welcome you into the space, to tell you guys about our 30th anniversary, to tell you guys about the campaign, but probably more importantly, our direction and where we're going and what we hope to accomplish, because we want all of you along for the ride with us. So before I do that, I want to give a special thank you to Entergy for sponsoring our 30th anniversary campaign. They've been a long-time supporter of Teach for America, and they're one of many companies, organizations, and individuals that have led the way philanthropically to make this work happen. And so if you are one of our philanthropic supporters that are in the building tonight, I express a tremendous amount of gratitude to you, because we know the important role that you play in playing behind the scenes to make a lot of this work happen. So a tremendous amount of gratitude. I also want to acknowledge the elected officials that are in the building. So Jason Williams, thank you so much for being here this evening with us. And Ethan is somewhere in the building, our newly elected board president of the Orleans Parish School Board. Thank you so much for being here this evening. So if you could just join me in giving a round of applause to our elected officials. Yes, and then we also have Judge Jenkins in the building as well. So one Okay, so by way of formal introduction, my name is Joy Okoro. I'm the Executive Director of Teach America Greater New Orleans. I'm a native of New York City and the daughter of immigrant parents who came to this country for educational pursuit and opportunity. And so, given that background and my upbringing, I consider the work that I get to do every single day the privilege of a lifetime. Having the opportunity to work on behalf of students and families is just a true gift. But I think what makes that work even more special is place. And the opportunity to do that work right here in New Orleans. So I moved to New Orleans 12 years ago as a Teach for America Corps member myself. I taught alternative high school mathematics and special education in Jefferson Parish. I did that for 2 years, then joined the founding team at KIPP Leadership Academy, and then 8 years ago joined staff at Teach for America here. And so I've held a multitude of roles, but most importantly and most recently, executive director. But enough about me. In particular, I'd love to take a meeting with each of you and we can talk about where I come from and all that good stuff. But I'm really to tell you why I've chosen to commit my life to New Orleans and honestly commit my career to Teach for America in this place. So some of you guys are new faces in the room, and so I'm so glad that some of you are here for new partnerships. And some of you guys are folks that have been working with us and partnering with us for a really long time. But what I want to do is sort of level set and level the playing field to help everyone sort of understand the history and impact of Teach for America in New Orleans. So I'm going to do that by starting with where it all began in 1990. And so you'll often hear me over the next year talking about Teach for America 3.0. Yes, pun intended, because 3.0 is 30, and it's our 30th anniversary, but I really do think about our work in 3 phases. And so just a brief history to level set all of us. New Orleans was one of the original 9 regions of Teach for America back in 1990. At that time, we were actually 1 region. So our Baton Rouge and surrounding parishes, as well as New Orleans and the surrounding parishes here, were 1 region. And if I were to describe that Teach for America 1.0, that first 15 years of impact, it was all really about proof of concept. Our founder, Wendy Kopp, had an idea that if we took our nation's most promising leaders and we put them proximate to a problem, that proximity would actually transform them forever, so that they would have an impact inside the classroom, but probably more importantly, they would be forever changed, and regardless of what they go do into the future, that they would take that experience that they had with their students with them, and it would inform everything that we did. And that concept was proven. And that's what we did for 15 years. So in 1990, we brought in our first cohort of 45 core members. And then from about 1990 to 2005, we brought anywhere between 30 and 50 core members every single year into New Orleans. And that's not that interesting of a fact to us, but really an interesting fact to the public, because a lot of people think that Teach for America sort of was in response to Katrina, or sort of like happened a little bit later in our history, but there's been a long history of Teach for America and core member leadership from 1990 until now. And so that was our first 15 years. Teach for America 1.0 was about proof of concept. Then the next 15 years, or Teach for America 2.0, if you will, was really about scale. And so that era, around 2005, which we know in New Orleans, Katrina happened. And that created all sorts of opportunity or challenge, whatever word you choose, but really was the beginning of the evolution of the public education system as we know it today, and the rebuilding of that. And so Teach for America also played an integral role in that. And so in that next 15 years, we were bringing in several teachers. We focused on scale, and at our peak, we were bringing in 250 teachers. But we were bringing in those teachers not only just in Orleans Parish, but really across about 7 parishes. We were in Plaquemines Parish, St. John Parish, St. James Parish, Orleans, Jefferson, et cetera. And so that talent was really spread. And back then, we were truly the greater in greater New Orleans. And we also split off and became 2 separate regions. So the South Louisiana region, which was Baton Rouge and the surrounding parishes, became its own region, and then New Orleans became its own region and the surrounding parishes. And it was really all about scale, right? And so was our alumni base. And so with all the buzz that was education in New Orleans back in 2007, 2008, 2009, 2010, we were attracting talent from all over the country. And so there were core members who did their Teach for America commitment here in New Orleans and stayed. There were some that left, but more importantly, Teach for America core members from across the country were coming to New Orleans saying, this is the place in which I want to have an impact. And so our alumni movement really began to grow, and the role that they played in the rebuilding of the education effort here in New Orleans was pretty significant. But we sort of just let it happen, right? We didn't necessarily do much to facilitate that, other than the conditions existed and those alums grew. And so today, we have about 1,100 alumni who have done Teach for America that are leading here in New Orleans. But I would say probably the most important thing about that era, and also why I've committed my career to Teach for America, is because I've never been more proud to be part of an organization that is committed to change. And so in that era, there were lots of things that were awesome, and there were lots of things that weren't awesome, right? And we heard the feedback loud and clear. And we have a fundamental belief at Teach for America that this movement must be shaped by individuals that share the backgrounds of the students and the families that we serve. But at the same time, and why I value Teach for America is because we also believe that what it takes is a broad and diverse coalition following said agenda, right? And there are lots of institutions and organizations that actually don't believe that value proposition, but I fundamentally actually believe that it takes a broad and diverse coalition, but that coalition must be following the direction of folks that reflect the backgrounds of the students. And so what we did in this Teach for America 2.0 era is we diversified our core. And so part of our history is that the core members did not necessarily reflect the backgrounds of our students, but I'm proud to say that since 2013 and ongoing, about 50% consistently of the core member class that we have brought in every single year identifies people of color and or identify coming from a low-income background. And I think that that's something that a lot of people don't know about our story, but it's really important to tell. And so that's Teach for America 2.0. But what I'm excited to tell you guys about is Teach for America 3.0. And 3.0 is focused on strategic impact and increasing equity. And so if 1.0 was proof of concept, 2.0 was scale, this is about getting it right? This is about being precise about the impact that we want to have and going after said impact very, very clearly and focused on equity. In a second, I'm going to tell you a little bit more about how we do, but first I'm going to tell you a little bit about our 30th anniversary campaign. And so the theme of this year's campaign that Entergy is so graciously sponsoring is transformation. When you see it written, also pun intended, there's a T, an F, and an A. In transformation, we're into that kind of thing around here. And that's because we're not only reflecting on the transformation of the education system over the past 3 decades, we're also looking forward to the future and embracing the transformation that's to come is how we explore how Teach for America and our partner organizations need to evolve to meet the ever-growing needs of our teachers, our students, our families, our community. It is changing fast out there, y'all, and we have to be ready to catch it. And so our 30th anniversary campaign will focus on 3 things. So if you leave anything tonight, this is the thing to write down. Go tell your friends. The 30th anniversary campaign will focus on celebration. And so there is lots of things happening out there in the universe. Locally, there's a lot of people who want to focus the conversation and the dialogue around what's not working inside of schools, what could be better. And while there is a place for that conversation, I am unequivocal about the fact that there is a whole lot to celebrate about what we have built as a community here. And so we're going to celebrate that. And we're going to be unapologetic about that celebration because lots of people get up really early to work alongside the most wonderful kids, and that's a good thing. And I'm willing to say that. There's a place for the conversation about what could be better, but I'm committed to that, so we're going to celebrate. And we're going to celebrate Teach for America's impact, and we're going to celebrate the impact of our community and what we've done. The second thing is partnership, and so that's why this space is so important. We wanted to kick off the anniversary with this open house. We want to get out there and meet and forge partnerships that seem unlikely. What might the relationship be between Teach for America and Oxnard? What might the relationship be between Teach for America and City Hall? We want to ask ourselves these critical questions because we know we must be working together to get this, to move this work forward. So we want to partner with folks. And so I'm so glad you guys are in our space, and I'm so excited to also go to your space to find out what you're working on and how we might be of service to you as well. And then the third thing is storytelling. There's deep and true and beautiful narratives that our teachers have to share, that our kids have to share about what's happening inside of classrooms, and it's often not what we talk about. We talk about the system, and we talk about what's wrong with the system and what's right with the system, but in that system are people, and they have stories to tell, and so we're committed to actually unearthing those stories and telling those stories, and then also, unapologetically, we're committed to getting our story right. There are a lot of friends of Teach for America that we have that have been faithful supporters of ours because they understand inside baseball and the backstory, but there's a lot of misinformation out there about who we are, how we lead, what we care about, and some of that is on us, right? Because we just haven't been out there telling our story about what we care about, and we've allowed a lot of people to define who we are and what it is that we value, and every single time I talk to somebody or I meet a new person, I am so clear about how aligned we are about what it is that we're trying to accomplish on behalf of kids. And so some of it is not actually that hard. It's just about getting out there and talking to the right people. So we want to tell our story, and we want to tell it right, and we also want to correct people when they're telling the story that's not right about who we are. So that's the campaign. So the campaign is kicking off this year. It's going to go all year. It's going to culminate in a signature event. You heard it here first. It's going to be October 24th, 2020. It is going to be the flyest signature event that you have ever attended. Think fashion shows, bands, Beyonce, all kinds of stuff. And all of that will culminate in the celebration of the work that our folks have done. So more information to come. But leading up to that, we're going to be doing all kinds of events and campaigns and celebrate the work of our teachers and our core members of the philanthropic community, of our supporters. So please be on the lookout and sort of pay attention to what we have going on because we likely have something for you. While our campaign is kicking off this year, lots of things have already been in the works. So part of it was actually building this office space. And so as practical and also financial making this move was, we did go from 10,000 square feet to 7,000 square feet, but also better designed. Is as technical as it was also symbolic. If we are trying to communicate the evolution of who Teach for America is, we also wanted our space to reflect that. And to showcase the choice and agility and flexibility that we actually believe define our values. We wanted our space to do that as well. And we also wanted to create a space where folks can come in and host events and bring students and partnerships. We have, partnerships and alums who have already used our space to host in the past. And so if you're looking for a space to do something, we also want to be in partnership with you. And so we'll talk a little bit about how you can do that. And then the other